Hello everyone, good morning. So today we are looking at the part 2 of the red-crowned crane. I hope you're doing well today. I hope that your day is going great, and if it's not, it's totally fine, because as a matter of fact, my voice is not that good today because yesterday I had some swimming practice and I feel a little sick today, but that's fine. It's nothing major, so I'm still able to record this episode, but if it's not up to snuff, please let me know, and I hope you understand. So yeah, before we go into the episode, we are going to be doing some breathing exercises. So if you're ready, breathe in with me. Hold for 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Breathe in. Hold for 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. Last time, breathe in. Hold for 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. I hope that this helped you relax. I hope that now you're ready to go into some more deeper facts of the red-crowned crane. Starting off with the scientific name of the red-crowned crane, it is Grus japonensis, and this name is consistently mentioned across multiple sources, including the National Geographic website. The crane also has names in different languages that we will be going into. The species is also referred to by other common names, such as the Japanese crane or the Manchurian crane. So it looks like the Grus japonensis is the scientific name of our red-crowned crane here. I don't know why they named it like that, but then I got curious about it and looked it up. Turns out that the genus name Grus comes from the Latin word for heron or stork, while Japonensis means from Japan. This name reflects the crane's association with Japan, although it is also found in other parts of East Asia. The species was first described by Stadius Müller in 1776. I hope that I pronounced the scientist's name correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. But it looks like they named this crane with a lot of thought, because their genus name Grus means heron or stork, which are related to the crane. We also see that in different languages such as Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, our crane is known or named differently. The red-crowned crane in China is known as Zhanghe, which translates to fairy crane or crane of the immortals. Additionally, it's also referred to as Dandinghe. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. So Dan means red, Ding means crown, and He means crane. The red-crowned crane is known as Tancho in Japanese, written in kanji characters as Tan-cho. The term Tancho is derived from Tan, meaning red, and Cho, referring to the crown of the head. It looks like they named this bird with their appearance, which we have seen in other birds as well. The red crown specifically is a very big factor when it comes to naming. It's included in most of the names of this crane, so we can see how prominent that is. So now moving on to the conservation efforts. So last episode we saw that China had some conservation efforts for their national bird. But here we see that many other countries and organizations also have conservation efforts. And sometimes there are these international cooperation with other countries because these birds are migratory and there has to be protection in all of their landing places, which I think is very thoughtful and considerate of our people. So, organizations such as the International Crane Foundation and WWF are working with governments, researchers, and local communities to secure a future for this species. It looks like the International Crane Foundation is specifically dedicated to cranes, and researchers and governments are also involved in that, which makes this effort global or national. So we also see that international zoos in the US, such as the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute and Columbus Zoo, are having these captive breeding programs to increase the population and genetic diversity of the species. The Smithsonian Zoo has successfully bred a lot of crane chicks, which we will be going into deeper later in this episode. But here, these efforts are focused on preserving and restoring wetlands, which are critical for the survival of red-crowned cranes. But we also see that National Aviary in Pittsburgh ran a program where US zoos donated eggs, which were flown to Russia and raised in the Kingansky Nature Reserve. It's nice to see that we are not keeping our species to one country and just distributing it in others as well. So the breeding of the red-crowned cranes is very rare to see nowadays because they're so endangered. But in the Smithsonian Zoo, in the foothills of the Shenandoah Valley, 3 fluffy feathered friends joined the flock at the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, Front Royal, Virginia campus. In late May and early June, 1 whooping crane and 2 red-crowned crane chicks called colts emerged from their shells. The colts' arrival is cause for celebration. Respectively, they are the most and second most rare species of crane in the world, and both are endangered. So we can see how special this is and how important to the environment this is. So a lot of appreciation for the Smithsonian Zoo. So the colts are 2.5 months old. Veterinarians will administer additional vaccines and take blood samples, which will be sent off to an off-site lab for analysis. It looks like they're still finding out their gender. They still don't know if they are males, females, or both. So the cranes are very endearing, says Chris Crow, bird keeper. They mate for life and are devoted parents, especially during the colts' first 8 months. In that time, they consistently put their offspring's needs ahead of their own. As their caretaker, it is rewarding to see that our colts are healthy and growing fast, as much as an inch a day. So it looks like these parent cranes are very considerate, and they put their chicks' needs in front of them, which is something very human-like, and I feel that we are connected because of characteristics like these. I feel like all species are connected in some way, and this is kind of the proof that we have for that. So we also have some other information about the colts. The red-crowned crane colts hatched May 30 and June 1st to 19-year-old mother Tara and 11-year-old father Prince. So it looks like since these cranes live a very long life from 30 to 40 years, they don't mate very soon, so they only mate after they're at least 10 years old. Crow is encouraged by the parents' attentiveness, noting that they keep a close eye on their young and always feed the colts before themselves. When the babies were small, Tara dutifully brooded or covered them at night, and whenever it rained. So it seems like the mother is very duty-bound, covering the colts from the rain, protecting it and feeding it, as is the father. So for the nature of cranes is both of the cranes, the parents, the dad and mom, incubate the eggs. So it looks like they both care for the young as well. The mom predominantly caring, and the father kind of helping out and finding food. So as the colts grow and become more independent, keepers look forward to watching their personalities develop. They wonder if the youngsters will take after Tara, who is confident and bold, or Prince, who tends to be reserved. So they still don't know who the chicks will resemble, but it makes me curious to see that these chicks are going to be developing these individual personalities. I'm probably going to go into the episode after a few months and see if there are any updates on these crane chicks. So together, Tara and Prince have contributed 4 offspring to their species survival, including these 2 colts. Over the years, 12 red-crowned cranes have hatched at the zoo's Virginia campus. It looks like they are significantly improving, and the future holds a lot of potential for these cranes thanks to these conservation efforts. Anyways, moving on to migration, the species is divided into a migratory continental population and a sedentary island population in Hokkaido, Japan. So it looks like the migratory population goes from country to country or state to state during the winter. So in the spring and summer, the migratory populations breed in Siberia, far eastern Russia, northeast China, and occasionally in northeastern Mongolia. Later in the fall, they migrate in flocks to the Korean peninsula and east-central China to spend the winter. The breeding range centers in Kanka on the border of China and Russia. So it looks like the migratory birds are centered in Russia and China, and then they move to the western parts of China or to Korean peninsula. And in Japan, the species, as we saw, is divided. So it looks like some species stay in Japan, in Hokkaido, and some species migrate. So if you want to maybe visit or see these cranes, there are landing sites or rest sites, which include the Panjin Marsh in China, coastal mudflats southeast of Tangshan City in China, the Yellow River mouth in China, Tumen River mouth in North Korea, China, and Russia, Kumya in North Korea, and Cholwon in Korea. So it looks like these cranes are mostly centered towards Russia, Korea, and China. So if you ever want to visit them, you can go to one of these countries. So the satellite tracking has documented 2 main migration routes, a 2,200-kilometer western route from Russia's Kingansky Nature Reserve to coastal Jiangsu Province, China, and a 900-kilometer eastern route from Lake Khanka, Russia, to the Korean peninsula and the demilitarized zone. It looks like these cranes do fly a very long distance ranging from 900 to 2,200 kilometers. So it looks like these cranes take migration very seriously. They mostly do this due to food availability and moving to warmer temperatures. So I think it's similar to the other birds as well. But we see that the red-crowned cranes are monogamous and form long-term pair bonds, often mating for life. Their mating behavior involves elaborate courtship displays, including dancing, bowing, head bobbing, and leaping. We saw this in the last episode, but if we go deeper into these courtship dances, they're really cool to see. They kind of flap their wings. They put one wing up and then the other down. Sometimes they use their head to elaborately complement their dance moves. And these dance moves kind of inspire the white heron dance and the dance of the white crane, one in Japan and the second one in China. So the white heron dance, I looked it up. It's actually the dancers mimic the movement of a heron, performing slow, deliberate movements that reflect the bird's natural behavior, such as kind of perching on one leg and pecking the ground. So this is kind of how the cranes hunt. We'll be going deeper into that as well. So these kind of mimicry is done in the white heron dance. They also wear the costumes of the white crane, kind of like wings and blue pants. So it's kind of cool to see that. And the dance of the white crane is also kind of mimicry, but it has like a legend about it, and also a modern dance has been invented by a sports teacher or a professor at the Shenyang Sports University. So this dance mimics the movements of the endangered white crane and is part of daily exercises that promote health and reflect the local people's love for the bird. So I think it's like similar to Tai Chi, where they kind of mimic the crane's movements instead. I feel like the crane has been implemented in martial arts as well. So I do karate, and I read a bunch of books on karate, and since it kind of comes from Japan, we see a lot of crane movements there as well. So it looks like it's really deeply symbolic, and sometimes people worship them. So I find that very, very interesting. I also have some mythological stories that we can cover in another episode, but going back to the mating, the mating behavior, as we saw, involves dancing, bowing, and head bobbing, and also leaping. So these are actually used to strengthen the bond between mates and communicate. So these displays are also often accompanied by a unison call, where the male and female produce coordinated vocalizations. So this is what I wanted to discuss in this episode, because we didn't get to it in the last episode. We only saw what they do, but it's cool to see that they also have this kind of call where they can communicate with. We saw that the cranes have different tones, so maybe there's something to do with their tones. Maybe they communicate in their own language. I don't know, but that's very, very cool. So the breeding typically occurs in spring, with the female laying 2 eggs, although usually only one chick survives. We saw that in the Smithsonian Zoo, two chicks survived. I think that's because they were in captivity and they had good conditions and good food availability. So both parents share incubation duties. We also saw this in the Smithsonian Zoo, where both parents were dedicated, and the chicks fledge after about 70 days. So I think the chicks in the Smithsonian Zoo are still 2 months old, so they still haven't fully fledged yet. Maybe in another week they will. But it's really nice to see that both parents kind of take the duty of caring for their chicks, which makes the job easier and also increases the survival of these colts, as they're called. So moving on to the hunting prey. So the way the crane hunts the prey is very unique, such as they use the walk and peck method to find food in deep water. They typically forage by keeping their heads close to the ground, jabbing their beaks into the mud when they encounter something edible. So we saw this being mimicked in the Huron dance. And I think it's so cool to see these birds hunt, because they just kind of sit there and lift one of their legs, and they keep their heads close to the ground. Since they live in marshes and wetlands, they can probably see the fish that swim, as the water is not that deep. And when they spot something that could be their prey, they just jab at it with their beaks. So they must have good eyesight, and they must have really strong, thin beaks. I'm assuming their beaks are sharp as well. So yeah, that's really cool. So red-crowned cranes are omnivorous. We saw this in the last episode. They hunt for a variety of food sources, including fish, amphibians, small mammals, insects, and plant matter. So it makes sense that they hunt for all this, because these are available a lot in the marshes or wetlands that they live in. So moving on, we also have some predators that for the red-crowned crane. It looks like the adult red-crowned cranes are large, and they can outrun or fly away from most predators. I kind of guessed at it in the last episode, because I was like, how can a dog catch a crane? It's totally very big. Like, a crane is about 5 feet big, and it has a wingspan of 8 feet, so it's definitely not possible for a dog to like successfully catch a crane, but I might be wrong. But looks like these cranes can outrun or fly away, but their chicks and eggs are vulnerable to predation by dogs, foxes, raccoon dogs, badgers, martins, crows, ravens, and birds of prey. So it looks like these eggs and chicks are sometimes the most vulnerable, and that's too bad, because these cranes are already endangered, and that's why our conservation efforts are very critical and important. So moving on, the red-crowned cranes are active during the day and typically roost at night, often in large groups. So this is interesting, because we see that not most of the birds kind of roost with other birds, but during night these cranes, they gather in communal roosting sites where each bird stands just outside the reach of its neighbor's peck. So it looks like they're careful about pecking each other or hurting each other, but they all kind of gather in these roosting sites. But I don't know as to why they do this, because it might be for warmth, it might be for protection. It looks like their nocturnal roosting habits are an important aspect of their social behavior, allowing them to stay safe from predators while resting. So I was correct, they were protecting themselves, and it's really really cool to see that they all come together and stay united for protection. So that's really cool. Since their roosting sites are usually located in wetlands, they can find protection and access to water as well. So it's like a double benefit there. They can also find water and protection. So that's really cool to see what they do at night. All of the birds that we have seen here are diurnal, which means they hunt during the day. But I would like to cover some nocturnal birds. We did cover the snowy owl, but turns out they were diurnal as well. They were one of the only species in the owl family that was diurnal. So I want to cover more nocturnal species, so stay tuned. I might be doing other owls, or let's see if any other birds show up like that. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I know that I should have included these facts in the previous one, but I was really caught up with the mythology and the significance of the crane. And also, as it was midnight when I was filming that episode, I was exhausted and didn't really go deeper into the facts. So I hope that this episode has made up for that, and stay tuned for more. If you want to message me, please go to Instagram. My username is early_bird_weekly_podcast. So that's my username, and you can message me anytime you want in case some of these facts are wrong, or if you would like me to do a bird in the next episode. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed. It's about 6:30 a.m. here. I woke up at around 4:40 a.m. I started recording at 5:30, so it's been like an hour since I started. The sun's coming out and the birds are all coming out, which is really really pretty. I'm probably gonna go for a walk. So see you guys in the next episode. Have a great day, and I hope you're relaxed, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Goodbye.